In this video, we'll be talking about the earnest money deposit in a real estate deal and how it can make or break a deal, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Let's Talk Real Estate Sunday. I hope everyone's had a great first week of the new year and being really proactive on building that successful future. But before we get started and talk about the good old earnest money deposit, if you don't mind and hitting that like button below and subscribing to this channel, we're currently at 99 subscribers. So can you please be that special 100 supporter? I would greatly appreciate it. And now, let's talk real estate. All right, so you either have no clue at all what an earnest money deposit is, and you probably only heard of a down payment, right? Or maybe you had the general idea because your lender gave you a quick rundown when they were going over your budget on what you could afford when you're purchasing a new home. So what is the earnest money deposit? Well, the quick explanation that I was taught in school was that it was money of good faith, or what I like to call is put your money where your mouth is. Similar to a down payment for the bank, but as a separate deposit. The more money you put down, the more the seller will take you seriously. And that's especially in a multiple offer situation. Let's pretend you were selling a home and you had two offers on the table, both with the exact same price with the same down payment with all the terms exactly the same. However, one of the buyers offered you more earnest money, showing you that they were putting their money where their mouth is and that they're serious about getting the house. In that situation, who are you going to choose? Well, obviously the family with the cute dog. But with all kidding aside, the purpose of me making this video to begin with is to make the masses understand how important the earnest money is in this market. Currently in the Dallas area, homes are barely lasting a week on the market, and every single home that I've put an offer on from one of my clients have been in a multiple offer situation. And best believe, the majority of those people are going to have similar offers. So it's your job with your realtor and your lender to have all your numbers in order, along with other contingencies, and present the best aggressive offers so you can win the bid. And if you want an example how crazy this market is, here's a notification that I got from a local realtor. She had 140 showings in the past 48 hours with 43 offers. I can only imagine how that meeting went when they were trying to choose who to use, but that's what I like to call good stress. So props on both parties in that transaction. That honestly must have been quite a war. Okay, so now we understand what the earnest money is, but who gets it in the end? Well, just like the down payment, the earnest money gets rolled over into the principal of the final home numbers at the closing table. So it's essentially like a second down payment. So don't worry if you thought this was extra money that the seller received on top of the sale price of the home. But before we move forward, let's wind this conversation back just a little bit. Because remember, the earnest money is just a tool used as an initial offering to get your offer accepted. So let's figure out who holds on to the money and what happens if the buyer decides to drop out of the deal. Well, when your offer gets accepted, you must turn over the earnest money to someone that can be trusted, which basically means that it's either held by a trusted individual or a third party during the contract period. Those holders could be the title company, lawyer, or broker, whatever specified in the contract. From the day your offer gets accepted to the day you close, your earnest money will be held in escrow. And during this time is where the real work happens. Inspections are performed, negotiation happens if there's anything that needs to be fixed, as well as getting the home appraised by an appraiser sent out by the lender to make sure that the home is actually worth of what you're offering. But the more contingencies that you have in your contract, the more it protects you as a buyer to receive your earnest money back. Because if one of those contingencies isn't met, then you can legally get out of the deal. Some of the most commonly used contingencies are option periods, financing, condition of the home, appraisal, and title search. For the option period, on average it would be around 7 days, but the amount of days can be negotiated at any length. But any time within the option period, the buyer has the option to not do the deal whatsoever. They can simply have cold feet, maybe they found a better home, or their dog didn't like the cat next door. But whatever the reason may be, they can drop out the deal and get their earnest money back. However, to use an option period, you would usually have to put down additional money, where it can range as little as $50 to $1,000. But if you end up closing on the home, then usually it's rolled over to the cost of the home. But that just depends on how you negotiate it within your contract. For the financing contingency, a buyer gets their earnest money back if they're unable to get financing for whatever reason. However, they must show that they attempted to get financing, and if they fail to show any proof, then the seller can keep the earnest money. A home condition contingency isn't widely used from my experience. The home is usually sold as is, but your realtor would usually use the option period to do a home inspection, and if both parties can't come to an agreement on how to fix any problems, then the buyer would usually just drop out of the deal. But if the contingency is used, not all items found by a home inspector are grounds for getting out of a transaction. But something structural or a safety concern, like a sunk foundation or a leaky roof, would be sufficient. Next up, we have the appraisal contingency, where if the property's appraisal is less than the sale price of the home, then a buyer can either renegotiate or walk away from the transaction and get the earnest money back. It's really that simple. And last but not least is the title search. And for this one, it's also quite simple. And that is, if a title search is performed and it comes back with a lien or any issues of the ownership of the property, then the buyer would usually void the contract and get the earnest money back. So if you're the seller and you're unsure of the title status, then make sure you perform a title search before you list your property to make sure you get it all sorted out. Okay, now that we got most of the commonly used contingencies out of the way and all of them have been met, and the buyer still wants out for whatever reason, well then, unfortunately, you have to forfeit your earnest money.
And it's gone.
So let's do a quick recap. The earnest money is put your money where your mouth is money to prove to the seller how serious you are about buying their home. A third party holds the earnest money in escrow until it has permission to be released by both parties. As far as contingencies, they're extremely important as it safeguards your earnest money if the deal doesn't go your way. And if all the contingencies are met and you as the buyer still wants out of the deal, well then you forfeit your money.
And it's gone.
But if you decide to close on the deal, then that earnest money goes towards the closing numbers of your home, which then in turn pays off your house much quicker. And that's all I have for today's video. If you learned something from it and haven't done so already, then make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so I can get that 100 subscriber. And I truly do appreciate the support on this new YouTube journey, and I promise that these videos will get better as time goes on. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.